Guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another really cool Mattel Jurassic World figure to take a look at, as we have the first of the newest wave of Fierce Force figures to hit my channel. This is the Mashikasaurus, and it is a really cool looking figure of a very obscure species of dinosaur, and in fact I can't even think of any other company other than Safari Ltd that has even made a figure of this species, so it definitely doesn't get as much love as it probably should, especially with how unique and interesting the species is itself. And I feel like Mattel did, an okay job on this one. Maybe not perfect, obviously. It definitely isn't accurate by any means. Just specifically here in the jaw, like you can see, of course, that the Mashikasaurus has a very unique and interesting jaw to it, especially the lower jaw end. Although they kind of have replicated it here with this, it definitely doesn't look, like it actually would. It doesn't look perfect, but the figure does still look pretty fun, and considering it is a Jurassic World figure, being that they're not full-blown dinosaurs, they're all technically hybrids because they're not entirely made out of just pure dinosaur DNA, the inaccuracies can always be looked over and looked past because of the fact that, it doesn't have to be accurate. But it is always nice when they can create something that is accurate, but I don't know that that has ever actually happened. So we'll just continue along with the review here without, discussing any type of accuracy as far as the inaccuracies, again, with the figure and, of course, that jaw area and stuff. It looks okay, it just doesn't look as nice as it probably should. But the Dino Escape box art here looks really quite nice. Again, it's your standard as far as that Dino Escape box art goes, but I love the Dino Escape stuff. It's absolutely awesome artwork and definitely my favorite box art of the entire Jurassic World line so far. And then here on the back we have kind of an image here showing off the action feature of the dinosaur, as well as an image down here in the bottom right hand corner showing off the other three figures that are in the first wave of Fierce Force figures. So let's go ahead, break this out of its box, and take a look at it. So here is our Mashikasaurus, and it actually looks really quite nice. Out of the packaging, I must say that I actually like it a lot more than I thought I would. I was pretty excited for the figure, just again being the fact that it is a Mashikasaurus, but I was a little unhappy with just the appearance of it and how kind of goofy it looks. But at the same time, now actually having it here in hand, and that's something that often happens when it comes to Mattel figures, is like, I'm kind of excited about it, but not super psyched, until I see it in person and in hand, and the figures usually end up being much nicer than I expect them to be. That's definitely the case here with this one, and I really, really like the coloration of this. Some might think it's a little boring because it's just like two different variations of greens, it seems, but I actually like the green on green color scheme of this. It's a very cool looking appearance for this dinosaur. So let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see the head sculpt looks pretty nice for the most part. There's definitely some really nice, quite vibrant looking detail throughout the head sculpt of the figure. The scale detail looks really, really nice. You can also see the nostrils sculpted out up here at the tip of the snout, and of course the teeth almost have like an interlocking look to them, which is again similar to the way the dinosaur would look in real life, but the teeth are big and bulky, like your kind of usual type of teeth like this, so they don't look as nice as they probably could, but the bulkiness obviously is to stop kids from getting hurt or stabbed or anything, so I can understand why it would have it, considering the Jurassic toy line is, it's based towards collectors for sure. Nobody can ever argue that fact, but it's obviously meant for kids too, so they can't release something where people are going to be hurting themselves with it. I will say, though, that looking at the teeth kind of appear to be pretty sloppy as far as the paintwork goes. Like, you can really see a lot of, like, random areas of the white that has run down here onto, like, the lower jaw. Definitely not near as nice as what I'm used to when it comes to a Mattel figure. I don't know if it's just the one that I got here, but if I can find another one at some point, in store that has nicer teeth, I might pick that up to replace this one. Maybe give this one a repaint, who knows. We do have a really nicely sculpted out tongue inside the mouth here, although there isn't too much texturing to it, which again is something that I've been noticing a lot lately with the Mattel line, is that the texturing of their tongues has decreased a lot. It's been a lot more of a smoother look for the tongues. I don't know why that is. I definitely liked it prior as far as, the highly detailed tongues, but it doesn't look bad. You can also see a really nice realistic tone of like a pinkish coloration in there, as well as a beautiful gloss coat that makes everything shine, giving it that nice, saliva-like look. The jaw is actually articulated, like there's the action feature, is like a head striking thing, but the jaw itself is just entirely articulated where you can just pose it however you would want. And that's definitely pretty fun. I always enjoy whenever a Mattel Jurassic World figure has an articulated jaw like that. You can see that as far as the coloration goes here on the face, though, we just have this nice dark green, and then here on the lower jaw we have a lighter green. The lighter green ends with the lower jaw. You don't see that anywhere else here on the underside, which is a little upsetting, but you can also see there's like some very light green kind of spots, speckling, throughout the face, which is something that you often see from Mattel, as they usually include like a speckling. This one has a light green speckling, and that actually does look quite nice on the figure. The eyes are also painted with a yellowish coloration, and they look pretty nice. They're not really sloppy or anything, a little tiny bit, but nothing bad at all. You can see some ridges picking up here on the top of the head of the dinosaur, and you can see just how beautiful that scale detail is right here in the neck, I think. Look at that. That looks really, really nice. This figure would definitely be a fun one to repaint as far as the scale detail. It'd be really nice dry brushing for that. That would really make those pop. As you continue to run down the neck, you can see how the ridges kind of cease for a moment, but then they pick back up, but then they cease again here on the lower part of the neck. Again, more really nice detailing throughout that neck, and you can see that that kind of lighter green that's up here on the top starts to pick up here in the second half of the neck as you run down the course of that neck. You can also see the underside here in the throat area, and everything does look quite nice. As you move down into the body, again, that scale detail is just gorgeous. Look at how beautiful and vibrant the detailing is on that figure. Very impressive as far as just how nice that detail pops. Moving down into the arm, you can see some very nice muscle definition. The elbow is present right there. Again, the scale detail looks nice down here as well. You kind of have like some scoots down the fingers, and the nails are also quite nicely sculpted. Unfortunately, there's no nail paint, but that's, again, no surprise as far as that goes. Moving back up into the body, you can see how that lighter green kind of stripes down and designs down throughout the side of the figure quite nicely. You can see the ridges, again, pick back up here in the back area, but not only do they pick up here along the spinal column, they also pick up around the spinal column out here and then run down along like the hip area, and then actually circle back to the tail, recreating that kind of stripe of ridges running down along the spinal column, but you can see it kind of like decreases right here, and in fact disappears entirely before we hit the button here for the action feature, and you can see that then the only ridges that we have are out here, along the side of the dinosaur. But that's pretty cool, a very nice and interesting look as far as the sculpt goes. Again, you can pick up on just how beautiful the scale detail looks up here as well as you run along the course of the figure. And I also love how some of that darker green, kind of shows up here on the back as well, just kind of popping through that brighter green. And then as you move back here into the leg, again, really, really nice looking, very vibrant detail in the leg as well. You have more of that green kind of striping here, that lighter green. The muscle definition is definitely nicely displayed in both the thigh and calf region of the leg right here. As you move down into the foot again looks quite nice with some scoots down the course of the toes. No nail paint yet again, but they do kind of have a glossy look, so it sort of looks like it's insinuating, actual nails. And you can also see more of that speckling down here. You can definitely see that we have dew claws present as well, but of course, since none of the other nails are painted, those aren't either. And then we move out the length of the tail. You can kind of see like some creasing and stuff going on right there. As we move out the rest of the tail, we have a very nice curve to the tail. Nothing overly dramatic or unrealistic by any means. And then, of course, looking at the opposing side, you're really not going to see too much difference on the figure, considering it's an articulated dinosaur figure. So it's really up to you to, display the dinosaur how you would like and move it how you would like. But the only real difference on this side would be that this leg is moving forward, further than that one. But of course, we can move the leg back to get an idea of what the detailing looks like in the stomach and everything. It definitely looks really, really nice. I absolutely love the very fine detailing of this figure, and you can see the underside also sports an absolutely awesome looking, very reptilian like scaling here for the underbelly, and everything looks super, super nice as far as that goes. And then of course we have the Jurassic Facts app code if you would like to add this to your collection. But definitely a really nice figure. Again, much nicer than I expected it to be. Definitely impressed with this one, even though it's not super accurate or anything. It's a really cool interpretation of a Mashikasaurus. Now, as far as articulation on our figure, of course, we have the articulation in the jaw, which we have already taken a look at. We have articulation in the neck in two different areas, so at the base of the neck and right here, so the dinosaur can extend its head all the way out. We also have articulation in the arm, moving forward and back, and then out away from the body again, if we would like the dinosaur to, I guess, attempt to fly. I'm not entirely sure. We also have articulation in the hip, which moves really nicely. Of course, same deal on both legs. And the legs, can they move out away from the body? Just, a hair, not much. But we do also have a swivel tail, which is, definitely something that you tend to see on these figures nowadays, but there was a time where we didn't have that going on with Mattel figures. As far as the action feature goes, though, if we push the button here on the back, right now, the action feature doesn't look like it makes any sense at all because the mouth doesn't open with it. And again, I really do like the articulated jaws, so I don't mind that, because if you would like to have the mouth, open, now you can make it look like he's kind of striking. I will say the action feature is a little awkward, definitely not the best that Mattel has, pulled off so far, and it works pretty nicely. It's just the movement here of the neck kind of almost means that like it should have a snapping jaw for that to really look nice. But at the same time, like, I'm torn. Like, I want it to have the snapping jaw so the action feature looks nice, but I also love having an articulated jaw like this so that, I can articulate it however I would like. So it's kind of like a 50-50 as far as the action feature goes. I sort of like it, but I sort of don't. But as far as a size goes, for a length on our Mashikasaurus, you are looking at about 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters. And then for a height to the top of the head, about 3¼ inches or a little bit over 8 centimeters, closing in on 8.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, showing you that as far as this Mashikasaurus goes, it's definitely on the smaller side, especially when you look at it over here next to the Colovosaurus, who is an Attack Pack figure, which means he's one of the smaller Mattel figures out there. You can see that the Mashikasaurus actually has a lot less body mass and just generally looks like, he's maybe a little bit smaller, maybe a tiny bit longer potentially, but also just generally a little smaller. So the figure does not sport a massive size or anything like that, but definitely a really nice and convenient size. So this Mattel Jurassic World Dino Escape Mashikasaurus, the Fierce Force Mashikasaurus, is really quite fun, and it's funny that I just finally got this figure now, although it's only now actually starting to really hit stores here in the United States, but there's already a repaint on its way coming for this figure at some point, potentially later this year, maybe early next year, but we do already have another version coming. But again, the figure is really quite fun, and I actually quite like the sculpt a lot more than I thought I would. Similar to the Carcharodontosaurus, where I saw a bunch of pictures and stuff, and I was like, doesn't look that great. And then when I got it in hand, I did end up liking it a little bit more, although I will say I definitely like this one more than I like the Carcharodontosaurus. But the sculpt is really quite nice. Again, not accurate as far as a Mashikasaurus goes because the jaws just don't look right to me. And just generally, most Mattel figures, like all over, don't look accurate. You usually have all kinds of issues with them, especially when it comes to like proportions and stuff. But the figure, again, does look really quite cool, especially as far as like a Jurassic World figure goes. It definitely looks quite nice and follows right along with the same trend of all the other Mattel figures that they have out, which means it looks really quite beautiful and has a very highly detailed sculpt. Just tons and tons of detail throughout, and the scale detail on this is super, super vibrant. It almost reminds me of the Coelurus when I had initially purchased the Coelurus. Like, I was so impressed with just how much detail was on that and how nicely it popped on the sculpt, and that's similar to the way I feel about this Mashikasaurus here. I also really quite like the paint scheme of it. Again, really nice and natural looking. It's very beautifully applied, and I love the green on green color scheme here. And in even more exciting news, it actually has paint that runs out onto the tail. Not all the way, but definitely a little ways out onto the tail, which always makes a drastic difference as far as the appeal factor for their figures goes. It would have been nice to have some nail paint, but, we can't ask for that ever, so I guess we're just going to have to skip that idea. The articulation is quite nice, though. I really do like the articulation of the figure, and the action feature, although fun, is a little iffy because of the fact that we don't have a jaw snapping feature with it, but, at the same time, you can just open the mouth, I guess, and have it strike that way. It's just a little bit strange, a little bit awkward, but I do love the ability to articulate the jaw. That's definitely fun. So overall, it's another really cool Mattel release, and I can definitely say that I recommend picking it up if you can find one. These are starting to show up at Target, and they will be showing up at Walmart as well. So one way or another, you should be able to get this figure in no time. But before you do, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.